If you make the ultimate sacrifice, it is the nation's obligation to go and bring you home. There's a little over 80,000 Americans missing in action from past conflicts since World War II. A historian's job is to put an X on the map, to sift through mounds and mounds of historical sources, whether that's letters to home or missing aircrew reports or after-action reports, try and put together the worst minute of somebody's life.
This is sort of the holy grail of if you're looking for a specific missing person after World War II.
I always say a good historian should have calluses. I have been on a total of 10 field recovery missions so far with partner programs sponsored by the DPAA. The mission of bringing home the fallen from past conflicts and giving them a name and then having the family be able to have that closure felt like the best use of my history skills. This is the most collaborative, cross-discipline, and also important work I've ever done. It involves anthropology, it involves history, it involves archaeology, it involves soil science and geology. I went first to France, a P-47 fighter pilot crash. That was my very first time, and I'm 19 years old, and I remember going on that dig site and finding a bullet. It was our first day, we were kind of setting up the site infrastructure, and I kicked over a mound of dirt, and inside that mound of dirt was a .50 caliber bullet from the plane. First time I really realized that all that hard work and all that preparation, all that stateside research led us to this spot, and I realized that we're standing not just on an impact crater in the middle of a forest, but this is somebody's grave. That's been undiscovered for the past 70 years or so, and we're that much closer now to bringing this pilot home. Wars don't end when the shooting stops. These are 80,000 families who don't have a grave to go mourn. This isn't some ancient history that doesn't have any impact on people's lives today. I'm not going to lie to you, there are long days. When you find something, when it's rainy and cold and you're sore and you've been maticking for 4 days straight and your back's hurting, and then you see a lighter in the screen, or you see a tooth, and you know that tooth is one of the best sources of DNA for getting a match. And you know that you're that much closer to bringing somebody home. And it goes into an evidence bag, and it goes into a locked Pelican case, and it goes back to the military, and they do the genetic testing. And you know it was all worth it. The site I was just working on in Italy this past summer, the co-pilot who went missing in action, saving his friends, his sister is 100 years old. I would like for her brother to come home before she dies. I think she has the right to be able to bury her brother. My grandfather, my mother's side, is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. He's a veteran from World War II in Korea, and he came home. He had a family, and my mother came from that, and they knew him and they loved him. I can go to his tombstone today in Arlington. I can sit there and think about his service and be proud of that and help honor his memory. And I just think about what it means for people who can't do that. It's on a hill in the corner of the cemetery that overlooks the Pentagon. And if you walk just a little bit away from the section where my grandfather's buried, you come to section 60, where the recent burials are. Amongst all these modern war casualties are death dates that say 1943 or 1944. And those are the people that we brought home. Humanizing who we're looking for makes me work harder. I really want to be able to say, I'm not just bringing missing in action service member home, I'm bringing home Uncle Buster, or I'm bringing home somebody's dad that they never met. Our job is to know everything about this person. It is to be able to recreate their lives, to be a speaker for the dead in a way. I remember actually finding remains on my screen, and I called our anthropologist over, and he said, oh, we are going to Baghdad. That might be him. And I actually sat down. It was pretty overwhelming. This is, lived history. This is part of World War II's history. And then I picked out what is probably part of our missing pilot out of my screen. And that might have been the only part that got put back in the coffin and identified. But it was enough. It's enough to say we know what happened, and here he is.
What do you do to try and identify him?
Public service is kind of in my blood. And I found a way through this recovery of missing in action soldiers to be a historian and serve my nation at the same time. I will do this until I drop dead on site one day. You're gonna have to drag me away from my screen. This is work I will never stop doing.